Hello, good evening, friends. Today in this video, I will share the knowledge about blockade of Iran ports, that is so much conflicting zone, and the risk expanding war to high siege. The U.S. blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, imposed after talk with Iran, collapsed over the weekend, has raised the risk of widening a war now entering its seventh week, lifted oil price and increased the prospect of further economic pain around the globe. So the development threatened to prolong and widen a war that has led to thousands of deaths and roiled the global energy market with higher oil and the gas prices and threatening to stoke inflation while showing economic growth around the world, and there's now a desperate effort among refiners and traders to secure immediately available crude category as a physical supply tightens. The Strait of Hormuz is the world's most important energy choke point, accounting for about a fifth of the world oil and the liquid natural gases. A full blockade would further pressure global oil market by squeezing the remaining trickles of ship points that have continued to move through the waterway. This blockade is meant to increase economic pressure on Iran, but blockades are very rarely quick in their effect, though they can be decisive in the long run, said the Yuan Graham, a senior fellow at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute. And what Washington prizes above anything else a quickly result. The 2 week ceasefire agreement is set to explode on April 22. And if the blockades does not lead to its collapse before then, Iran Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said any military vessels attempting to approach the strait under any pretext would be considered violation of the ceasefire, according to Iranian state TV channels. While neither the side has committed to a second round of diplomatic talk, Iran foreign minister's spokesman Ismail Baghesi said the nations reach an understanding on the base issue, but disagreement remain on two or three key points. It has a natural that one should not have expected to reach an agreement in a single session from the outset, he said on the state television after the talk. An American official who requested anonymity said on Sunday it was clear to the US team that the Iranian delegation did not understand the Trump administration's main objective, which was to guarantee the Islamic Republic would never obtain nuclear weapons. Hormuz, which link the Persian Gulf to wider market, has been effectively crossed since the US and Israel's strike on the Iran began at the end of February. Tehran has frustrated the White House by tightening its grip, imposing payment for some vessels, and keeping traffic and friction of pre-war level. While the US is capable of enforcing the blockade, it would entail substantial cost and the risk. Bloomberg economic analysts, including the Jennifer Welk, wrote in note US warship would be closer to Iranian drone and missile threat, leading to a dangerous escalation cycle if any of them are hit. The Houthis, who are allied with the Iran, may also look to disturb oil gas flow in the Red Sea, and the Bloomberg economic analysis wrote. So the risk and the cost of the sustained blockades and the potential for pressure from the other stakeholders like China suggest US President Donald Trump. Trump may not follow through or may not sustain a blockade. So they wrote, adding a Beijing may even use its leverage over the US with critical minerals in effort to pressure the Trump. Still, the threat itself increased the odds of the miscalculations. reduce the space for the diplomacy and keep downside risk to oil flow and the market elevated. So the Trump has suggested that other country would also be participates in the blockade, and but has yet to name and the specific nations that will be sending ships to other asset to the region and to assist it. Britain would not be taking part in the blockade, and people will familiar with that things with the government and position said also that Trump has repeatedly called on Europeans and Asians alliance to support them to do it the blockade, but other hand the Europeans are not in the support because they think it's a completely a danger marks and putting the angles of war can increase with China also. So some alliances include the UK, Japan have said they would assist in the effort only after fighting in the region became too hot. It's not essential for the US to attack every sea, and just the threat alone can reduce the flow and from the Iranian port, according to John Bradford, Executive Director of Yokosuka Council on Asia Pacific Study and former US naval officer. Still, he said it's unclear if the tactics will work against Iran, and it's a particularly risk with the Iran to seek the de-escalation through the Bradford said, and the tactic work better with some actors than other, and Iran shown it's resilient on the tactics. Thank you, friends. It's nice, and hopefully you will knowledge and empowers.